Hello, everyone! Can you believe it? Taylor and I are together again. I feel like we need to take a moment just to enjoy this. I'm so happy to see you, Taylor.
Oh, I've missed you so much. I have cried almost every single night. Just going, when am I going to be back moments with Trish?
I know the feeling. I cry every morning about it. So it leaves a nice feeling about the rest of my day.
You must glow for the rest of the day. Your eyes will pop. We all know what tears do. No, just teasing. Also, I'm sitting, but the reason I was sitting on the floor is because Tucker was, but now he's decided that he actually just wants to sit outside. So I was like, okay, I'm on the carpet now.
If you are unsure who Tucker is, it's Taylor's dog. He's
Tucker,
very
come.
popular. We wanted to be the
Not
three T's for all of you today. But while we wait for Tucker to join us, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. It feels like it's been a long time, but in fact, it hasn't. It's just because Taylor is now here. Remember that we're live and interactive, and so you can send through questions and comments. We love to hear from all of you, and of course, we love to hear how you're enjoying the show. Taylor, how are you enjoying the show today?
it's been really good so far. I really love sand and things that I was watching while I was waiting for the show to start. That was really cool. Yeah. No, it's good.
Nice.
It's going well.
And
Elephants in the background.
any beverage?
I've got water in. I don't know. I've misplaced my water bottle. It's somewhere in the car. So I'm on H2O. I'm on a health cleanse.
It's
Lame.
showing. Okay, well, Taylor and I will discuss getting our own show at another time because clearly it has to happen. But we have some hellos coming through already. We've got Mr. HUAE87 who says that, oh, today you have melon fruit juice with cake. Mr. HUAE87 always makes me jealous.
I know.
Amber Co says, Happy Thursday to all. Looking forward to seeing the clips today. Always interesting. We have some very cool clips today. Today we are focusing on Nkorho. We have basically all our clips are from the Nkorho cam, so things have been happening there. And that's quite nice for Taylor and I because we have spent a lot of time in that part of the world near the cam. So maybe we'll see some familiar faces. Or
Hopefully.
maybe
I have
not.
to tell you, Trish, very I had the most
Yes.
amazing sighting at the Nkorho cam. It's relevant this time. When was it? About 4.5 weeks, almost five, no, probably about 5 weeks ago. It was amazing. I was with guests and we just sat there, and I don't even know how many different herds of elephants came down, but it was spectacular. There was so much vocalizations because one herd was not happy with the other herd. And it went on for probably about 45 minutes or an hour. And we just there was leopard sightings, there were all sorts of other things going on, and we just kind of sat there in complete awe. It's such a great waterhole.
It is, and it's getting so nice and muddy, and the elephants are just going crazy at that waterhole. It's so nice to hear that you had a good sighting there. And I think a lot of the time it's not just about running from sighting to sighting. If you can sit for a few minutes, you can get the best of what African wildlife has to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's it. It's just being patient. Like when we were about to leave, another group came in and it was a different interaction. So it was so worth spending most of the afternoon there.
Nice. Well, there you go. Nkorho Cam is on fire, and we'll be seeing all about it in a bit. But first, Kauru has told us that, of course, she has milk and a piece of bread, keeping it simple. Nice,
Ooh.
Kauru. Tris Visop is also here, says, Good day, everybody. Good day, Chris Visop. Tris Visop. Dear NC says hello to both of us, and you're ready for wild moments with your coffee. Nice. Bridget McKinney, you say hi, Trishana and Taylor. You have an apple juice for your birthday, do you? Nice. Happy
Mm.
birthday. Have an apple juice on us.
Happy birthday. Mm. Mm. Mm.
Um, we have a whole lot coming through. But first, W. Bouchard would like to know, does anyone know how many rhinos exist right now? Um, White rhinos, I think, what was the last census? Like, I don't know, I want to say 15 to 18,000. But I know that South
Yeah,
Africa has 20% of the white rhino population. But yeah, do
Kenya
you
must
know
be a
anything
close
more?
second. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Because I'm wondering, are they counting rhinos that have been like in captivity, like breeding centers, or if it's just the wild rhino populations? That I'm not 100% certain on, because there are so many other, like obviously there's a big breeding project where 2,000 white rhinos have now been taken over by parks, and they're distributing them all over Africa,
Oh,
which is really cool. I don't know if, like, for example, those 2,000 rhinos are actually included in the current stats. But let me
yeah.
ask the internet.
While Taylor does that and gets you a real hard answer, we can move on and say that Zygote says hello to us. Hi, Zygote. Namaste to you too. And April Owl says, good morning, everyone, from a cloudy Connecticut. You're here with your coffee and vanilla soy milk ready for the show. Not sure. Jean Gale, you say, good morning. Good morning to all of you too. I'm glad to report that it is actually not raining at this moment in Cape Town, but it has been raining for about 10 days previously. And then Trainer Matt 51 says, good morning from North Carolina. Salted caramel, iced coffee in hand and ready to go. Yes, you go, Trainer Matt.
Please, can we trade?
And then finally, Jan Powell says, hi all, a little late, but glad you made it for some time with Trish and Taylor. And hopefully, Tucker.
Tucker,
Did
come
you manage to
here.
find Taylor?
Pardon? Oh, yes. So they say it's between like 16.5 and 18,000 white rhinos. Well, yeah, as an estimate,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
Okay, so pretty much
So you were
what
right.
we thinking. Whoa, my brain just did a snapperoo. Jive Bunny, hi Jive Bunny. You say, oh my goodness, Trishala twice in one day and Taylor too. Yes, I was doing live at the Waterhole with Wild Earth earlier, and then Jive Bunny was there too.
Oh,
Okay, shall
nice.
we head into it? Let's go and
Yes.
take over Nkorho like all the animals. And if you know me, you know that I really love hyenas. Oh my goodness. And now we're going to see one that looks particularly rough and tough. Okay, so we were having a thing. Taylor and I know a hyena that has a floppy ear. And as you can see, this ear is, I mean, this is beyond floppy. This is mangled.
Yeah.
This is no connective tissue. Like this is the extent of this floppy is something I haven't seen before.
I can't say that I've ever seen it either, to be quite honest. Not like this. But I suppose
Mm,
in hyenas, maybe of all animals, that's the species we're going to see it in the most. That they could bite each other.
exactly. And also, so the hyena that Taylor and I do know, her name is June, but her ear, her floppy ear is her left ear. So this is the hyena's right ear that is floppy. Now, I have seen another floppy-eared hyena in this area that was not June, but I can't remember if it was a floppy right or left ear.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. Oh, I
what
think those
jumped out
might have
of the
been
water?
fish. I think it
Ah,
was barbel. I'm not sure how many fish in here, but the way that the water moved like that makes me think that they were potentially barbel feeding on that carcass that hyena grabbed.
mm,
And they were like, absolutely not. Off it goes. What, did it just come to marinate it? We'll just leave it in the water for a couple of days. 28-day aged rump. I don't know. I'm not sure what hyenas. I don't think hyenas are picky. They'll just eat whatever.
no, they'll 100% eat whatever. But that kind of behavior, well, let's start with the floppy ear. Like you were saying, very common in hyenas to get things missing, floppy ears, tails missing, deep gashes. They're always sporting some kind of permanent injury slash
Injury.
identifying feature. Yes, exactly.
Everything.
So it's not unusual to see a floppy-eared hyena at all. And the behavior of stashing things in water is also not unusual at all. You've seen it before, Taylor.
Yeah, yeah. Plenty times. I'm just like, how do they? It just makes me laugh though, because I'm like, where did you even get that from, and why did you put it in the water? I mean, it's a good place to hide it. Nothing's really going to be
It,
able to smell it, especially if it's completely submerged.
exactly. And I wonder if that has a role to play, especially if, and we know hyenas are not fussy. So if the meat is already getting very, very rotten and very smelly, perhaps the water is the best place to stash it without drawing the attention of other hyenas.
Mm. Absolutely.
I've seen, there was a time I was watching some hyenas and they were just going for a swim. They can be very playful, and they were going for a swim and diving down and picking up sticks and stuff. And then suddenly one of them just dragged out a carcass, and it must have known that it
Oh,
was there.
it's
And
like
they
magnet
proceeded
fishing,
to,
but
yeah,
not quite
exactly.
magnet. Like diving and then finding all sorts of gems, which is super cool. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Which waterhole was that?
it was at Treehouse Dam.
Oh, very nice. That's very
Yeah,
cool. Super envious
just
of that sighting.
oh yeah,
I
it was
actually I
amazing.
feel sad for guests and guides who have not experienced the playfulness of hyenas. We all know they have such a bad rap, but like you said, the amount of times you watch them like literally running, jumping into water, and then coming out and repeating the same process, like it's truly spectacular. But I can't say that though. I've typically seen what we just saw in South Africa, so that's really epic. I've mainly seen it in East Africa and Zambia, where I've seen hyenas like stashing prey in water.
Oh, that's nice. It also, I think it also speaks to their sense of smell. We know that hyenas have a really good sense of smell. They also have very large, broad noses and very large nostrils. But most of the literature that's involved in researching the nostrils, it has more to do with taking in a lot of oxygen because they're pursuit predators and they can take in a lot of volume of air in one breath. But if you already have supercharged, super big structure, if that's all there, you might as well be having supercharged abilities to smell too, which we know that
Mhm.
they do, but now
Absolutely
maybe the nostrils play a part too. Um,
interesting.
Jive Bunny, you say June the balloon. Yes, that's what people have been calling June the hyena recently because she has been feeding herself very well on all sorts of fermenting bacteria ridden um, meals that have really, you know, gassed her up. So you can't actually spend too much time watching her, otherwise you might throw up. But it's great anyway. It's part and parcel of having hyena sightings. JJ, you would like to know, could a hyena clan bring down a buffalo? I always say that anything is possible in the right situation, but I have not ever seen it, and I have not even seen an attempt of it. It's not typically what would happen. Taylor, how about you?
So in South Africa, it's not something that I've really seen in all my years. But when you go up to Kenya and you spend time in the Mara, because those clans of hyenas get so big, they quite often. I'm just trying to think when the buffalo drop their calves. Normally, it's around May. And then the hyenas spend a lot of the time, obviously, snatching up the newborn buffalo calves. But they also will target the big and older individuals that sort of lag behind the herds. And it's so impressive. Do we really underestimate how intelligent animals are? But they will bite Achilles tendon on the back legs. So they basically snap those tendons and it takes forever and they bite the tail that the buffalo's back legs collapse underneath them and they can't go anywhere. And it's something that gets seen quite often with the hyenas there. But then again, when you've got that many individuals, uh, yeah, I mean, I know of a story at a reserve not too far away from where I am right now, where a group of hyenas actually killed a rhino.
What?
Apparently, it took hours and hours and hours and hours, but they cornered it in a dam, and they just kept going for it, which is crazy. So I never saw it, but a lot of guides did see it. People posted about it on social media because it's not a particularly nice thing, and I think a lot of us are trying to be quite sensitive about what we post. But yeah, so I mean, there's a pack of wild dogs in the Lozambizi National Park in Zambia that hunts fully grown buffalo, so they've specialized in it.
And I think
Yeah, so
going for Achilles tendons is a very smart thing because you're basically
yeah.
collapsing the animal and you're taking away its ability to run away.
So
Very
smart.
smart
I
move.
mean, we look at it and we anthropomorphize and we say how cruel and that animal is suffering. But a meal is a meal, and a buffalo, when there's 20 or 30 of you, well, for hyenas, sorry, when there's 20 or 30 of you, that goes a long way. We all know how much hyenas can consume in one sitting. So yeah, a buffalo is a good meal, and obviously high risk, high reward. But it's truly spectacular. It goes on and on for hours, so it's not particularly pleasant to sit and watch if you if you don't have the stomach for it, but watching the technique around it is fascinating.
Yeah, well said. Very well said. Jack de Boer, you say, well, hyenas are scavengers for sure. Oh, well, they do scavenge a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
time, but they actually hunt um, 50 to 80% of the time. In East Africa, they hunt more often than those in Southern Africa, but they are not only scavengers. However, they do have the right equipment, the right anatomy, muscle structure to make sure that they can get into spots, like get into the bone marrow and things like that, that other predators can't get into. And so they've almost carved out this niche for themselves. But sometimes if it's more like they scavenge because they can, not because
Hmm.
it's their only option.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lisa Hoffman, hello, you're late, but you made it, and we are glad that you made it. It's all about Nkorho today, so how about we head back to Nkorho and have a look at the aging hippo? Oh, I have really been wanting to see this hippo out of the water. I even said it today that I wanted to see him out of the water.
Oh, shame. Look at the terrapin on its back.
I
The terrapin's
know.
like, no, 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 go back to the water. I didn't sign up for this.
I wonder,
Oh,
actually. I mean, most terrapins would move off the back very quickly after a hippo gets out of the water, even begin to move. I wonder if this terrapin knows this hippo is slow and old and it's just a free ride.
yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it's shame. It's really a tough time for the hippos at the moment, with there not being much grass out there for him to eat. But shame, this one is just completely torn to pieces.
Shame.
Is it? Can you see if it's a bull? I'm trying to look between the back legs, but I can't really see if it's just an old bull or is it a cow or what
I
the
mean, it's
story
so
is.
hard to tell with hippos, but
Yeah.
I would. So it's been at this waterhole on its own for a while. So I would say it's a
Okay.
bull. Mm.
Oh, shame. Well, that's terrible. Yeah, I think
Oh,
I would. Oh, there goes the terrapin. If I was the hippo, I'd also be out feeding during the middle of the day rather than roaming around in the evening. And
oh,
oh my goodness! No, flip it over. Help the terrapin. Oh, yeah. Did it do it?
I don't think so.
Oh, I got excited. Oh, shame.
Or did
Help
it?
the
I think
terrapin.
it did.
I think maybe it did flip itself over. Yeah, it did. Its head's upright.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it did.
I
Oh, that
wonder
was
if that.
incredible. It did it so quickly. Look at that. Whoops.
Ooh! Now that is a proper technique. It's obviously some. I mean, I haven't seen a terrapin flip itself over, but that looked a
No,
hundred
me too.
percent like this is the way it's done. I'm not just flailing
Yeah,
around and trying things out. This is how it's done.
that was spectacular. Gosh,
Then
this
stretch
hippo's been. I
over.
think it went over.
Nice.
It's shame this poor hippo though. Look at that massive sort of gore on the side of its body. I wonder if a tooth just went straight into it. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
that's not very nice
shame.
to see.
So we're thinking, is this hippo just old, or is it a massive loss in condition?
Hmm. It's that's a great question. It's obviously difficult to determine, like, size comparison when it's standing out in the open like.
Hmm.
Um, Gosh, I mean, but if it is a younger bull that has been beaten up properly to the point where, like, it's got some severe injuries on it, we know hippos heal quite quickly, but
Mm.
yeah, when your immune system starts to drop like that and you just can't recover, then I suppose you're going to start losing weight. So maybe it is. Maybe it's a younger bull that's just got on the wrong side of a dominant bull and is now, really paying the price.
Yeah, it's so difficult to tell. I mean, I don't even know if I would be able to know that I'm looking at an old hippo if I saw one, because all the hippos that I look at, all the adult hippos, pretty much look the same. Yes, there could be
Yeah.
some that are bigger, smaller, maybe the skin is a little drier than the others, but this is the worst conditioned hippo I have ever seen. All the top of the skin, or the skin on the back, was all cracked and calloused, and then that puncture wound on the side. So I don't know if the hippo is old, or the condition is a result of maybe the interaction it had that led to that puncture wound.
Yeah, it's tricky to say.
Either way, I think that hippo is likely going to die over the dry season. That's probably what
Yeah.
will happen. If this injury
I
was sustained if the injury was sustained during the wet season, I think that it would have had a much better chance. There would have been grass nearby, there would have been plenty of water around, and there would be a surplus of prey for the
mm,
predators. Now it's the dry season, there's less grass, there's less water. You were just telling us about the elephants coming over to the waterhole too. So all the resources are dwindling for this hippo, and unfortunately, I'd be surprised if it makes it through the dry season.
yeah.
Yeah. It's sad, but it's also the way it is, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, the meal that it's going to potentially provide for other animals, So yeah, such is life, unfortunately.
And such is the changes in the season as well. Changes in the
Mm,
season mean that animals have to adapt to the fluctuations in resources, and most animals are totally capable of that. But as soon as you have an injury or some kind of physical setback, that difference between the resource rich wet season and the resource poor dry season is huge all of a sudden, that
yeah,
gap.
absolutely.
Speaking of changing in, or the changes in the season and adapting to changes in the season, come the dry season, what ends up happening is you have a lot of grass all over the place that is dead and waiting to fuel fires, essentially. So, what
Mm,
many areas and reserves do is that they control those areas by burning it, or have a controlled burn. And so we're going to go and have a look at what that looks like on the Nkorho cam again, because it's a really important part of reserve management.
oh, wow.
There we go.
I can even see that there's a tractor sort of
Oh,
just
yes.
parked, obviously. You see it. And that's something that's
Yeah.
also super important for those of you that are going, oh my gosh, how can they just let a fire burn like that? You will not believe how many people are on the ground monitoring this. There's an entire team, and we typically will stand in a long line, obviously away from the flames in the opposite direction that the wind is moving in. And fire beaters, a tractor like that could potentially, even with a big scraper at the end of it, could drive over, some small flames and just flatten it completely. But then there'll be
Mm.
vehicles that'll have like a water tank as well, and then they'll spray water kind of around just to control it if they need to. But it's, these guys are professionals. And I'm really worried about the fires this year just because of how dry the bush is. So I'm so glad to see people being proactive about it and rather burning smaller sections to help prevent a big fire coming in. And this area where Nkorho is stretching all the way into Kruger, so to the east of where Nkorho is pretty much open grasslands. And that poses a huge threat. The fires move through those areas so fast. So I'm glad to see that Nkorho is putting in or burning some blocks and probably reestablishing the fire breaks too.
Yeah. Now, I've never, thank you, Taylor, for that, because I have never actually been in a controlled burn. The only time I've been involved in controlling a fire was an uncontrolled burn that just started in the bush, and then there's a alert that's sent out. If any guide is available, please come here right now and try and help. And that's the only time that I've been involved. And in those situations, everything's a bit more chaotic and desperate, and everyone's trying to do a little bit of everything. But in the controlled burn situation, have you been involved in a controlled burn before, like from the start to the end?
Yeah, so pretty much my entire career, it's one of the things that safari guides have to do. So you kind of, depending on the reserves that you work at, but you get training on how to handle fires, what to do if the wind changes and all of a sudden the flames are now coming towards you. Sometimes you can't run away, and the best thing to do is to actually just drop down to the ground, especially if the wind picks up, because you'll see the flames go. And it's happened to me, and it was one of the most terrifying experiences. I was very young. I was like 20 years old when for the first time, and you hear people talking about this, but the wind changed like that, and all of a sudden the flames started coming to us, but at an alarming rate. And obviously more and more oxygen is being pushed into the fire, so it's just like these huge fireballs going straight up, and then the fire literally jumps over the top of you. For those of you who want to go and see how a fire can jump, I think unfortunately Australia we all know, has got some horrific fires, and there's some very scary footage from like firefighter, their trucks, where they've got dash cams and stuff, where you actually watch a fires jump these huge roads. So it's not nice. It's not really a pleasant experience, but when there's an emergency like that, everybody has to just jump in and help. So I think it's important to have some experience. And if you don't go off on your own, stay with somebody that kind of knows what they are doing and knows the bush, knows that area very well. That, if you do need to get out of harm's way, always have a buff with you. Super important, because the amount of smoke that you inhale, and if you've got sunglasses, that's great, because the smoke in your eyes is also really, really just unpleasant. And yeah, I suppose though in Cape Town side, you see so many fires as well on a regular basis.
Plenty. I mean, now everything is completely wet, but in Cape Town itself, during the summer, we've seen a lot of fires. I mean, I went out for dinner, and on the drive back in the past summer, just a portion of the mountain was just casually on fire. Yeah, but speaking of Australia and fires, have you heard about the firehawk, the Australian firehawk? I think it's called the firehawk.
As in,
it's a bird.
I don't know. Yeah, is it not the that picks up the embers and then like drops them? Just okay. I didn't know it's called a firehawk though. I can't remember what bird I thought it was.
But literally,
I have.
Find a place where a fire is burning, and then pick up a burning stick or some embers, and then drop it in other locations so that it can start a fire there. And that's all to flush out its prey. And then it can go in and get its prey. Very, very clever. But fires are definitely... Sorry, say that one again?
Sorry, I said I'm surprised the fork-tailed drongos have not caught on to that. They feel like they would be fire starters.
And the fact that we both thought that tells you something about fork-tailed drongos. It really does.
Exactly.
So Kauru is just telling us a little bit about that hippo. Kauru says that he's got a new sore on his face today as well. You saw that earlier. I also did notice he's got a few bumps and things growing on him. But I suppose that's all a result of a lower immune system, generally just not being able to support himself. So infections can pop up and things like that. And then Bridget McKenney, you say it looked beat up for sure. Definitely. And then Zygote, you said disintegrating hippo. It does kind of look like he's disintegrating. But I hope that he'll have a good time at the pan and that he has a peaceful time at the pan. I saw him earlier with the elephants, and though the elephants were a bit irritated with him, he kept a low profile and just let them go past, do their thing. And that's probably how he's gonna behave for the next few months. Hopefully he'll make it through the dry season. Taylor, it's time for us to say goodbye.
Oh my goodness. Is it really? How did that happen so
Yeah.
quickly? Sorry, I'm looking down my watch.
I know, but it's okay. Maybe Taylor will come join us again soon because that would be really nice.
I'd like
But
that.
it is time to say goodbye. Oh, quick last question. JJ wants to know what happens if the fire escapes the controlled burns? What if it jumps?
Oh my goodness. All havoc breaks loose and literally like an emergency SOS is sent out because the fire spreads so quickly, and with other lodges being in the area, they need to start taking preventative action. Again, the wind can change at any point, so it could start going in one area and then can turn and go in a completely different route. So I've been in the same day that I was telling you about the fire jumped over me. It was actually at Kariga Game Reserve, funny enough, and it almost burnt down the main reception area. So you've been to Kariga, so you know where the main reception is. If you stand with your back towards reception looking out, they were burning that whole area. And pretty much everybody got hoses and whatever they could and just started wetting the grass and vegetation pretty much immediately around the lodge in hope that if the fire does come through, that perhaps it would die down enough so that they could start beating it and spraying more and more water on it. But it's a problem. I mean, I think it was last year, there were some huge evacuations that were happening here in I think it was the Timavati or Thornybush or somewhere. There was a massive fire and lodges actually had to evacuate guests. Sometimes, most of the time, you can end up coming back because nothing happens, but, rather preventative than reactionary management in that case.
And I think that's just it. No matter what happens, as long as you have enough people that are paying attention and can work preventatively while others are working actively, you can at least know you have that. Because if you don't have that team that's trying to prevent while the other one is actively trying to quell the fire, it can just run away, I'm sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, you might see other fire preventative measures going on the cameras. And if you do, know that people are being proactive. I saw some fire alerts going out today as well, not controlled burns. So this is the time of year that it's going to happen. But most of the time, reserves have good teams that are there to look out for the area, the habitat, and the animals. And that's what counts.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we say goodbye. Taylor, please come join us again. It feels like you took too much of a holiday.
I know, I was working. I was gone for weeks, like 5 weeks. Ridiculous.
Don't
I'm
work
back
every
for a bit.
Just come work, yeah. Just come work, yeah. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us for Wild Moments, brought to you by explore.org, but especially joining Taylor and me and having all your questions come through. All right, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.